They are. They all have different names. She's
Okay. Now she's married?
She has 2 kids.
You taking inventory?
Well, his kids. My daughter had one of his kids.
Yeah. Because they write the rules to suit
Yeah. Where's the book?
We done? I've got a lot of time. My watch is 83% of jobs. They will.
This council meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Law. This meeting of February 6, 2023 was published in the Courier News and Star Ledger and placed on the Borough's website. Notice of this meeting was also placed on the bulletin board at Borough Hall with a complete agenda. In addition, a copy of this notice is available to the public. A copy of the statement shall be included in the minutes of this meeting. Mayor Dennis Sullivan.
Here.
Council members. Granville Brady.
Here.
Tom Mitchell.
Here.
Gina Stravic.
Here.
Roger Broom.
Here.
Fred Weed.
Here.
Randy Pitts.
Here. Please rise and join me in the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one set of minutes from our meeting of January 17th. Can I have a motion for approval? So moved.
Second. Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Broom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. And we have one departmental report as listed. It's my pleasure to offer the following proclamation. Office of the Mayor, Black History Month, February 2023, and I'll read it in its entirety. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and vast contributions of African Americans for economic, spiritual, political, and cultural development of both our nation and our community. And whereas the 2023 theme is Black Family, Representation, Identity, and Diversity, and explores the rich tapestry and complexity of the African American life and its meaning through history. And whereas the observance of Black History Month reminds us of the continued need to mitigate racism and to build a harmonious community. And whereas the Borough of Somerville continues to work toward becoming a more inclusive community where all people are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community, state, country, and world. And whereas the Borough of Somerville is proud to honor the history and contributions of African Americans in our community, now therefore be proclaimed that we, the Mayor and the Borough Council, hereby recognize February as Black History Month, and be it further proclaimed that we, the Mayor and the Borough Council, urge all residents to recognize the contributions made by members of the African American community and to actively promote our principles of equality and liberty. And therefore now it be resolved that I, Dennis Sullivan, Mayor of the Borough of Somerville, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, join with the Borough Council in proclaiming the month of February as Black History Month, signed by myself, dated February 1st, 2023. Kevin, would you make sure this is posted on the bulletin board outside of Borough Hall as well as on the website and our other media outlets as well?
Yep.
Thank you. I look forward to the time, and probably not in any of our lifetimes, where we have moved beyond recognizing individual groups, and we've come a long way. This proclamation wouldn't have been written 20, 30 years ago, but it would be nice to dream someday that we all recognize each other and we don't have to have a month for various, components of our society. Maybe a pipe dream, like, gotta keep dreaming. So just make sure, Kevin, that goes out to the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All Right, we have one item for discussion tonight. I'm pleased to welcome the Keller family here. Report on 41 West High Street, proposed zoning change which falls under the jurisdiction of the Somerville Borough Council. And I will call up representatives of the application. Right now it's in the concept stage, and Jeremy, if you get too far afield of what we need to discuss, you just let us know. But we want to bring the applicants in. They made a brief presentation to our planning board. It was felt that we should bring the governing body up to speed because it will ultimately be our decision what to do with the proposed zoning change. And if it were to succeed, to go through this body, it would then allow them to come to the planning board for the actual implementation of the project. So the floor is yours. Name and address for the record, and just step up as closely as you can to the mic.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm William Kelleher, 239 Altamont, 237 Altamont Place. Yeah, 239 is my area code in Florida. Let's go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Ellis Kelleher. Current address is 95 Robeson Street, Somerville, New Jersey.
Eamon Quinn, current address 95 Robeson Street, Somerville. I'm going to sit down just a second.
Of course.
But 41 West High Street, obviously fronts on High Street. It's 3 doors in from the intersection of High and Maple Street on the south side of High Street. The lot is, about 100 and some odd feet long, and it ends at the alleyway into parking lot number 1. The house was built in 1895 by my great-grandfather, Dr. Thomas Flint. And the barn, which I call, and they'll call the carriage house, was built at the same time in 1895. Dr. Flynn used to keep his horses in there. He was a horse and buggy doctor at the turn of the century. He died in the house in 1942. My great aunt lived there until 1982, and my father has owned it until his death last month. It's in a great state of disrepair. Ellis and Eamon have approached me now as the executor, de facto the owner of the property, asking if I would convey to them, with their intention being to rehabilitate the house, which has been a 2-family since my great aunt's death in '83, for a single-family use by them. And Ellis has proposed to convert the barn and carriage house into an art gallery on the ground floor, and a single, one unit apartment on the second floor. It poses some odd zoning issues because the residence, single-family zone, High Street, long lot, opening in the back to the parking lot. I looked this evening, and it's the only place that has direct access from the property into the parking lot. There are a couple on Huntington Street, which is the next block over, but that's the gist of it. So I'm going to, having said that, it's their baby.
Ken, before we start, can the camera pick up the placard?
It would not be able to pick up the, you'd have to be in this angle here.
Okay.
It'd have to face the camera.
So just
camera.
quickly, I just want to explain to you, you don't normally see land use applications, and this is not a land use application. The reason you're seeing this is at the planning board meeting, the applicant appeared for a concept, and it was referred back to the council only because it would require a zoning change. The governing body is the entity that performs the zoning change. If you would agree on this, that you would have, if you are favorable to it, you would have an introduced ordinance probably at the next meeting or so that would create that zoning change. And then it'd go to a planning board and so forth, and then the applicant would obviously have to go through a process as well. So just so you understand why that's in front of you.
I'm just curious, if this is a zoning change, like, when we're changing the zoning, could it not also be brought before the zoning board? for like a request to,
The governing body's in charge of zoning.
Recreate
Yeah,
the
the
zone.
governing
and
body's in charge
if
of
the
zoning.
applicant-
Zoning board
No,
only
no,
You
no,
need
hears,
to go before the zoning board to get a variance to do what they want.
yes, couldn't that be done?
if they were seeking a variance of use, but they're not seeking that, they're seeking a zoning change.
Let's hear the, let's hear it.
If I may, I'm sorry, they can't go to the zoning board for a use that's not permitted by the ordinance. And if the ordinance needs to be changed, it can only be changed by the governing body. Is the legal answer to it. Jeremy, that's what the land use law says. And again, this is a unicorn.
A unicorn is a lovely way to put it.
Just come up as close to the mic as you feel comfortable. Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully I can answer some questions or elucidate this process. We're learning on the fly, but I'm Ellis Kelleher. That's my father. This is my husband. And what we're proposing is to take a disused nightmare of a space, which everything that we've got out here, I've given you in the folders so that, if you need glasses or you have materials there. This is the property. This is the property as it exists currently. What we're calling the carriage house. Thank you, Charlie. What we're calling the carriage house has it's seen better days is probably the politic way to put it. But it is historically tethered to the town. The man who built this house was one of the founding surgeons of the hospital, and he used to take his horse and buggy and ferry patients until the hospital in 1903 got their own livery service. He used his own horse and buggy to help ferry patients to the newly founded hospital, the Somerville Hospital. Also, the first fire company, the first firefighters, Engine Company 1, was originally on Maple Street, catty corner to this. And Dr. Flynn, the man who built the house, was very civic-minded, and he allowed the firefighters to also stable their horses here, refuel, pick up hay. So we think this building has merit as a historical part of the town, and as it currently stands, it is an underused eyesore. And our hope is that we'll be allowed to subdivide the lot and rezone the building so that I can make it my business. I am an art dealer by trade. It is not a Sunday hobby. It is 15 years of my career. I have worked in London, in New York, running art galleries. I've worked for Sotheby's. I've worked for startups. And I want to come to Somerville, and I want to start an art gallery here in this historic home. This historic barn, with our home directly in front of it. We're putting down roots here. This is a personal project. We're not developers. Bless you. And so we're seeking a permission from this body to subdivide the lot, to repurpose this disused historic structure, make it 1,000 times better looking than it is now, because it truly is the stuff of nightmares. So what I've given you in your packets, what I'm showing you here, are the views of the carriage house as it's, I don't know if I'm doing that, I'm not really good at feedback.
It's a system that's very old.
Okay.
It acts up every once in a while.
It's historic.
Exactly, we can talk about preserving this as well.
It's not a comment on the merit of the project.
Thank you. So what you have in your packets is what I'm showing you here. It is the carriage house as it stands, as well as views to situate it for you if you're not familiar with the property. I am terrible at reading maps and floor plans, so this is how I can understand it. And then this is our drawing from Leonard Chevitt's local architect, preservationist, for how we can bring the building back to life. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, but the idea is to pay homage to its original structure, not change that, not change the lines, really bring the history of the stable house back, while also just making it look leaves better. We'll put in large light plate glass windows here. There will be no entry from the alley, directly what you're seeing here. That will just remain windows and barn. Entry points will come on either side. If you've been to this location, you know that it steps directly into a parking lot, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to have people, your customers, your tenants walk directly into traffic. That's, I mean, I could go on and on. I have materials about exhibitions I've put on to give you an idea of what I'm like and what I'm hoping to bring to the town. I could go on, but I'm not entirely sure anyone wants that. So,
We ask for
So is the house part of the development, the rezoning?
The house is in a properly zoned area.
So it's
So,
just
so
this.
what happens is the house and the carriage house are in the same zone. So in order to create a business or utilize it as a business, you basically have, what the applicant's requesting is that the carriage house be separated from the residential zone into a B1 basically.
In its own lot.
And it'll have to be
It's gonna be a new-
subdivided.
It's gonna be a new taxable
So
lot.
and again, the reason you're seeing this is really more of a concept for you guys, because what'll happen is if it's something favorable, you'll have to vote on the ordinance. But then at that point, the applicant will be responsible for all the fees and professional reviews and so forth. But there's no value in going through the process only to come back to the governing body if they're not favorable to it. So if it's something that you're favorable to, it'll allow for the ordinance to be placed for the zoning change.
So currently, what is the current zoning for this structure right now?
The
It's
entire-
It's in the R.
POR.
Yeah.
Hold on, everyone's talking at once. Can just one person answer me, please?
POR,
Thank you. And the change would be
B1.
B1, okay. Why currently is it a POR?
Well, it was, I'm gonna tell you, it's probably in a zoning that's been there a very long time.
Correct.
But it was a garage attached to the house, not attached to the house, but part of the house.
Yeah.
So
Do you want-
So garage use associated with the residence.
correct. But,
I
I mean,
have one question. My concern with this are there any adjacent B1 areas?
Yes. Sorry, may I?
you can,
Ish.
sure.
I'm not entirely sure of that.
Yeah,
We have a map here that shows, that's the one thing I didn't put in your packets because I ran out of printer ink and money at Staples. So this is a map that elucidates the lines of so we're discussing, forgive me, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm doing a science fair project or something.
So it backs up against
So it
the-
backs up
the
this,
B1.
yeah, this right here is the carriage house that we're proposing. We slice right here, and it backs. It literally abuts a B1 area. It also is smack dab in the development. Forgive me. The special improvement district.
That's good, because that way it won't be
It's not sticking out
considered spot zone.
exactly. It's not sticking out like a sore thumb. It's the thing already sticks out horrifically like a sore thumb. We're trying to bring it into the fold in some purposeful way.
So then the properties next to it are, so the properties to my left
Mhm.
of it, yeah, so
On
those
Maple.
two green lots there.
These
Well,
or these.
Those, and then over here, like if we're
This is
set,
the parking lot. So this is the parking lot. This is actually where that firehouse used to sit. So it got bulldozed to make room for a parking lot. That predates my existence, but.
no, I'm just looking at, is there any other building we have to consider if we're changing that zone? Are
Right.
people gonna come back and say, oh, why'd you change that and not the other ones?
Everything else has been ripped out along here, so the carriage house sits, like my father said, it is a bit of a, would you like to pass this around? I don't.
It's over there, so I know.
Okay. It's a strange, I tried to give you photos of it as well, it sits on its own.
It sits out in
It sits-
the open.
it's in-
okay?
yes,
There
it's in
is
no man's land.
asphalt all around,
Yeah.
okay?
So it'd just be essentially changing the little dotted black lines just a little bit.
Bounce it out to there-ish.
It sits in lot one.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the only structure that I think survived whenever Lot 1 became Lot 1. I think my grandfather really wanted it to survive, and so Lot 1 grew up around it. And so the hope is to bring it into the fold in a useful and meaningful manner where it can be a contributing building for the town once again. Would you like to?
The comment, Tom, regarding spot zoning, the reality is spot zoning comes into play when it's inconsistent with the master plan. This is an adaptive reuse of a garage.
Yeah.
Right, so that's consistent with and preservation of historic, like
My
structures.
original
This is why the planning board, the planning board seemed favorable to it, but that's not the application in front of them yet.
Right.
Yeah, and having been burned with the spot zoning designation last time an applicant came before us, I think we're sensitive to that. However, I did visit the site, and both the carriage house and the house are lovely as they can be,
Yeah.
not as they are now. The house itself has a great deal of charm. I don't know how old it is, but I know it is in the 19th century.
1895, yeah.
1895.
Yeah.
It's got it's got a brick foundation. So the carriage house fits in with the rest of the property. And honestly, I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to move forward in a very small way to expand what we want to see in Somerville. And your use certainly doesn't seem to conflict with what we had talked about. Certainly on the DSA, they've talked about lots of different artistic endeavors.
Yeah.
This would go well with it. I didn't have any questions other than, do you have an estimate of what your cost would be on this?
Oh, that's redundant. Sorry, that's not.
Not germane to this discussion, but it's an old building,
I mean, if you're going to
anytime you
restore
do
it,
it all
it's
house.
going to then
Yeah.
meet certain things that you need to do to restore it.
Yeah.
And this is fine. I have no objection to it.
Thank
No vinyl siding, I'm sure.
No, and we're
We're working with Dan Rajevitz on the design features.
Right.
To make it look like a carriage house again,
again.
which is kind of part of the.
Let's do this. Let's go around and we'll start with our senior member. Mr. Rich, any questions or comments?
No, I just wanted to say, the reason I was concerned about the spot zoning, I had misread the application. I thought you were asking for it to be an R1.
Right.
The B1 makes much more sense.
Yeah.
And I wish you the best of luck with it. I'm sure it's going to be beautiful when it's done.
Mr. Drew.
I already heard this, obviously, as you know, from the planning board, so I think it's gonna be.
That was last Wednesday, though.
I know,
That's a
I
long
know.
time ago.
A lifetime ago.
But no, I think it's gonna be fantastic.
I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Grady, anything additional?
Well, I just would like to know if we're going to be invited to the grand opening and a tour of the house.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We are doing it at the house as well. So we're taking it from a 2-family with an office space to a 1-family. And yes, as long as you're happy with probably Costco liquor and food, because we're going to hurt ourselves on
They're very low standards. Mrs. Stroud, questions, comments?
No, I asked my question, thank you.
Mr. Weed?
So, I appreciate, I had the same concern Councilman Mitchell had, so that makes a little bit more sense to me than I initially read it initially. I guess the remaining concern is, it's just a little change of the line, pretty much in layman's terms. That's what it seems like. And then, Councilman Stravik asked the question, what about other places, but it seems like the only structure there. Might not be a question to you, maybe more for Kevin. I have a concern of, I don't want this is just a very minor tweak. Are we gonna have a rush of people coming in every meeting saying, we wanna change this, I wanna change that? It's the only concern I have is if we do it this once, is there gonna be a mad dash, a mad rush to make minor changes?
I can't tell you the answer to that, but at the end of the day, that is a governing body responsibility, right, to do zoning ordinances. But I've been here for 15 years. I think we might have heard a couple of these.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know,
that was my second
on a
question. because
residential
in the
like
past-
yeah.
And one of the
15
reasons
years.
that the council would go for it, should it be presented with an application and a subdivided property and approved by the planning board, is because of the unique nature of this property, the way it's sort of become an orphan or a unicorn, to use the vernacular.
Yeah, unicorn.
It is something unique about this property,
Alright,
this
well,
property in particular.
That sounds good to me, that kind of alleviates my concerns, I have no objections.
I'll finalize the comments. We have very few carriage houses, barns, lean-tos, yurts, whatever you want to call them left.
Yours.
I mean, we lost one when the senior citizen building went up. The carriage house for the Roberts Mansion was, I mean, it was sacrificed for our greater good at the time. But here, it's worth saving, and to allay your fears, every application that we would hear on a zoning change has to stand on its own merit. If there's something that is obviously incompatible or obviously not merited without any redeeming qualities, we would have the ability and I think the obligation to deny it. I like it. It seems simple. We're just moving a line. Another benefit, if you look at the left and right scenarios, there's a lot more green on the new one.
Gravel, left and gravel.
Gravel's nice, but landscaping's better.
Yeah.
I guess, Jeremy, a question then for you is what are the steps to get them ultimately before the planning board?
I was thinking about that, but which comes first? They come here basically to take the council's temperature. You're not taking any formal action tonight. You're basically giving them an idea whether they're wasting their time or not doing it. The next step is a planning board application. And that planning board application will include a formal subdivision of the existing lot into the two lots. And a recommendation from that planning board that the remaining, the one lot with the carriage house on it be incorporated into the B1.
That'll probably be a condition of approval.
Yes.
Likely.
And that's probably how I would do it if I was a planning board attorney, yes.
Then we have to have an ordinance that backs that up, is that
Yes.
correct?
But they can be worked concurrently.
And they're, again, I'm thinking this through as we're saying it, because I'm not sure if you're changing the line of the zone or if you're just incorporating a new property into the zone. There may be some notice requirements as well. It gets a little tricky, but that's the short
Would you
answer.
reach out to the planning board attorney and
Yes.
figure
I
the
speak to her on
mechanics?
a regular, so I'll mention it to her.
Figure the mechanics of what we need to do. Because we were sort of, Roger, correct me if I'm wrong, my impression after the last meeting of the planning board was that they'd have to have the zoning plan change in place to then go to the planning board. Is that how
I don't know if they could without a subdivision.
Right.
I think they have to,
Yeah.
they probably have to subdivide first.
Yeah, and I think the point was to have it come to us to see if we were amenable, and as long as we're amenable, then they can move forward, because there were a few other things that were presented to the planning board that may come back before this board that were not discussed tonight about the parking spot, the handicap parking spot next to your property. So those are all things that will be coming back, I'm sure, with an actual official proposal.
To the planning board.
Correct.
As part of the subdivision.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, the goal was not to have you spin your wheels and have the consultant's clock ticking, because you probably know that legal fees are expensive.
Yes.
You look at me.
Where's my coal?
So is there anything we can do to grease the wheels to speed up the process?
I'll make a call to the planning board attorney. We speak pretty regularly and make sure she's up to speed and we're on the same page. And she might have a more expedient way of handling it, in which case we'll speak to you or to Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, and they're gonna get their own counsel. I'm trying to stay as far out of this as I can.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Family and business need to be remain separate,
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
but it's nice to have that legacy brought back.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
One thing I'd suggest, and our historic society would probably mirror this, if there's a way to incorporate a small plaque at some point to recognize what this used to be.
I love that. Yeah, I would be thrilled to work with this
Doesn't
sort of
have to
society,
be
with the
massive,
town.
but just some kind of commemorative,
Oh, absolutely.
where there's art today, there were horses back whenever that was.
Yeah, I'm very keen
Just
on
to
that.
remember, because if that knowledge is gone,
Yeah.
It needs.
So at the planning board level, you can certainly make that a condition.
And
Or
any
my dining room
historic
table,
photos of the
I'm sure I'll
documents
get-
that you have.
I'm sure I'll get.
Historic photos?
I have historic, they're very few and far between. The carriage house is where it sits now, it's backed against what the municipal parking lot was originally Gunzelman's lumber yard.
Yeah.
And so the carriage house, there wasn't great occasion to take photos of a lumber yard. I found a few in the Historic Society, but none that pinpoint the specific, the building itself, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
I also have photos of the historic Somerville books that show the original firehouse on Maple Street. And it's that thing where if they could just tilt the Victorian cameraman 90 degrees, then we have the money shot. Yeah.
Our fire museum may have some archives too.
That's the next step. We got a bit bogged down in the Gordian knot.
Rich O'Neill probably fed the horses himself, so we'll be able to
I'd like to
remember.
know when we speak to the planning board attorney in the morning.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
yeah. Lovely.
Could I add a comment
Oh God.
or no?
I'll open the floor for one public comment.
Hi, Craig Storms.
We need a motion.
I move to open the public on this particular matter.
Thank you.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
I just wanted to say, I think
Well, name and address at the microphone, please.
I have so many orders, holy cow. I just like to say, I think it's a great
Name
idea.
and address.
Craig Storms, DTN Management. I just like to say, I think it's a great idea to add this into the B1 zone. I know there's been a lot of discussion throughout the years on the POR zone, which incorporates High Street, changing the uses there from residential to office residential. But I think this is a great idea to bring people that are in the parking lot that can visit another business. We're trying hard with all our Main Street properties to have entrances through the back of our buildings, which I think the planning board and the council like. And this is just another opportunity for people, when they're in the parking lot, to see another business and make it look like it's not just a parking lot back there. So I think this is a great idea, and I wish you a lot of luck, and I hope the council sees favorable value.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Okay, thank you for your hair.
Hearing no other public comment, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Temporary public session is closed. Thank you, Mr. Buford. Literally, horses. Right, yeah, but number 8, we have a CDBG discussion and notification on Carol Pager ADA playground expansion.
Yes, thank you. You'll see some of these others coming in the next couple of weeks. The CDBG requires a public hearing on the applications. Anybody that, usually they just send us the information, I share it with you. This particular one is ours that we're submitting. Jason Krasker and the Recreation Commission with Kathy Karen are working on a project. It involves the expansion of Carol Pager to include an ADA ramp and 2 additional features and safety service. It's a project that we're making application for about $100,000 for, which is the maximum allowed for a single project. Additional costs, the Recreation Commission does raise money through its turkey trot and other programs that they would utilize to offset some of the additional costs on that. This is just the application process, so obviously we'll go through if awarded through CDBG, we'll go through bidding and so forth. But that's what that's about. We've been spending a lot of money the last 4 or 5 years on sanitary sewer relining, right? So this is, we're shifting to recreation because obviously the sewer system
Not to do that anymore.
will not be one of our assets. So we're going to continue to work with parks. They're also working on another grant for a walk park, unrelated to CDBG, a different one. So the goal now is to kind of shift our focus to play structures and play areas that are eligible for this type of funding.
So what exactly is the playground expansion? Has that been developed?
Yeah, so concept drawing has developed. I have it with me. It's just a couple pieces of equipment. I'll just give you a quick.
On the existing site?
It'll be adjacent to the site. We'll get a better feel of after we go through the application process, because right now we don't want to spend a lot of money doing any design work, because if you don't get the grant, you're paying for that. So it's very conceptual, very embryonic in the process, and this is normal for us to do that, and then develop it once you get the funding.
So it would supplement the play area that's there now, wouldn't replace.
We just supplement it, yeah. I shouldn't say just, it will supplement.
So it'll be probably just to the west of it, to the existing play area.
So, yeah, I would anticipate it to the west. We didn't do a layout adjacent to the other one, but it, you know, the company lays it out for us. And the site was looked at already. Obviously, we'll have to get some permits, some soil district permits. I don't think we're gonna run into any wetlands or anything like that. And the apparatus could actually change. It's like, you know, when you apply for these grants, you base it on these certain pieces of apparatus that are available at the time.
I was over there a couple weeks ago, the ramp is much too steep at this point that I could see. I think it's more than 5%, and at the bottom of the ramp, the lip where it goes into the actual playground is raised so that you can't really get a wheelchair over there. The problem I have with this whole thing is, why are we doing this with John Long Park? $100,000 is a lot of money, guys, for just one park. We've got several parks, and it's almost like why just do one? Why don't we put in for $100,000 and scale it down and do some minimal things to make John Long Park more accessible? Because it just bothers me that we're just,
Well, we did, John Long was a recipient of ADA funding, of CDBG funding previously. So you know, when we do these applications, first of all, you know, we kind of do spread them out. I mean, playground access is categorically eligible under CDBG. It used to only be allowed in areas that were considered low and mod. So now it's categorically, so we're able to get into other areas that we weren't previously able to get in. And we do kind of look at them. That's why we have an application at Walk. Now, again, not on the CDBG, but an application that they're working on at Walk. This obviously is Carol Pager. Carol Pager has a lot of value there. I mean, you know, there's programming that's going on there. There's a lot of use.
That and the recreation committee, speaking to Jason, speaking to other members who are doing grants specifically, this is a whole process. They're going to be working hard on a lot of the parks, Walk Park, you know, in particular with ADA compliancy, and then you have a basketball court back there. There's a ton. So this is just like one piece of the puzzle.
Well,
And
and
the sources-
another theory is to focus on one park as the best handicap accessible park we could have.
Well, I mean, listen, we have a lot of things in the works. Obviously, we're doing the pool. The pool's out to bid. I think you're awarding that tonight. So that's one area we're doing there. You know, at some point we're going to be. We have looked at different areas for other straight parks in the south side of the municipality, the south side of the municipality as well. But I think this is a good application. You know, we've been successful. You know, with CDBG. You know, no matter where we've been. Whether it be sanitary sewer or playground. And again, it's you know, when it comes to the voting and the applications, it's fairly subjective like most other applications. And I think it's a good application and it does kind of create a process. So every year we know we're looking at parks and recreation. And that's what we're shooting for over the next several years.
And the source of this is county money.
Federal.
Is federal.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
it does have to comply with the Davis-Bacon Act. So it's a little more expensive. And I know, Grant, when you're saying $100,000 under that type of funding, $100,000 doesn't go all that far. So unfortunately, so it does have a lot of federal requirements. But we've been successful now for 15 straight years. So we know that system pretty well.
we were so successful, we got $7 million for the sewers.
Okay. Good.
You have to open this up to the public?
You can if you like.
No, I'm just saying.
It's available for public comment, so yes.
Okay, so I'll move to open to the public.
Second,
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
yes.
Dina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Anyone from the public wish to comment on the CDBG application for Carol Pager Park? Hearing none, motion to close.
So moved.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yeah.
Gina Stravic,
Yeah.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Now, you are gonna hear a couple of other ones from other, because everybody has to come, you probably have 3. Do you want them to appear in front of you? Because usually I don't, there's not a lot of dialogue.
You mean the applicant?
The applicant, yeah. Usually I just share the
There's a
information.
deadline, correct?
The deadline, they have to appear in front of you by next meeting, because I think the deadline's in March. So,
Let's
you-
invite them, and if not, then.
yeah, I think, I don't know if your first meeting in March fits the schedule.
I mean, if they're not coming to present, I would like to at least see an explanation, like hear that.
Rationale, yeah, rationale.
Yeah, so far I've received 1 for next meeting. I'll share, I'll get that out to you.
Right.
It's safe and sound, I believe it is.
All right, Kevin, I have a question. We have an ordinance. Don't we do the ordinances after committee, or does it matter?
That might have just been our haste to getting it together, but you're in charge of the agenda. You could go with whatever order you.
It's an introduction, so let's go ahead. We have one ordinance for introduction, 2693-23-0206. Removing Article 13 entitled Street Cleaning, Chapter 166-31, no parking for street cleaning, and removing 166-62, Schedule 13 entitled No Parking for Street Cleaning to eliminate street cleaning enforcement throughout the municipality.
So moved.
Second.
I knew you would want to make that introduction. All right, since it's for introduction, we don't have any needed discussion. Roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yeah.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Will that be on for the next meeting? then?
It should make the next schedule.
I know that's near and dear to your heart, and I expect a swift resolution. All right, we have committee reports on our agenda, and I'll start today with, again, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, I have a few reports today. The Historic Advisory Committee recently celebrated its 25th anniversary with a report listing its major accomplishments in its first 25 years. Included were 11 events, 3 of which are ongoing annual events, 5 publications, 7 sign or plaque projects, various educational programs, 1 National Register nomination, several successful grant applications, and of course the restoration and preservation of Borough Hall, which is still ongoing. Last year's accomplishments included the Native American Heritage Festival in cooperation with the DSA, the street-side last watch markers for Somerville's officers who were killed in duty, an update of the visiting and historic resources tab on the Borough web page, and a program on the history of Somerville brickwork in cooperation with the Somerville History Roundtable and RV Habitat for Humanity. The Gateway Development Commission, which is the agency leading the Gateway Tunnel program under the Hudson River, is currently budgeting funds, hiring staff, and preparing the documents necessary to comply with its $6.5 billion federal grant. The Federal Transit Administration is conducting a risk assessment by analyzing documents the GDC submitted in October, including a project development agreement and updated financial plan. Following the risk assessment phase, the GDC will submit the full funding grant agreement application. Construction could begin on the new rail tunnels later this year. New Jersey Transit is holding a virtual career event on Wednesday, February 15th. Applicants will have the opportunity to interact with recruiters, learn about career opportunities at New Jersey Transit, and get tools and resources to use in the interview process to join their team. Available positions include bus operator, finance manager, train mechanic, and project manager. Participants must register in advance at njtransit.com/big. Effective February 1st, PSE&G has lowered its gas bills for its residential customers by 23%, from 65 cents per therm to 50 cents per therm. The decrease in the commodity charge reflects the decrease in natural gas prices over the past few months. And the heat is out in parts of this building, but not in this room though. Space heaters are being used temporarily. Estimated time to repair is 6 weeks. According to Puxatawny Phil, that'll be just in time for the end of winter. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Rose.
Tonight we have in front of us an ordinance, resolution 76, supporting the submission of an application to FEMA for assistance in purchasing high water rescue equipment, swift water rescue equipment. This application for this grant is being supported by all the members, not all the members, but all of our emergency services, I should say. It's fire, obviously EMS, and I know the police department is involved as well. I believe it was last week, if not the week before, the rescue squad hosted a speaker that came in who is a professional and a gentleman who talked about urban flooding and the dangers and the needs that we face in those types of situations. So we have folks on our technical rescue team that are swift water trained, but we are moving ahead. The fire department and the rescue squad is moving ahead in providing more opportunities for more members of both organizations to be trained in preparation for this, because as we've discussed at this table and in other groups, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And so in order to combat this, there is specific equipment that is necessary, and that is what this grant and the folks that are putting this grant together are looking to procure, so that way we are prepared the next time that Somerville faces an island situation as we did with the last flood. That's all I have.
Thank you. Dr. Brady.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The Finance Committee has revised the method for council approving vouchers. Instead of those boxes that we all grew to love over the past 40 years, we're going to be storing them in file folders, accordion folders that are a little easier to pick up and to handle. And we're also now attaching the voucher to all the supporting documentation, so that when you review the vouchers, you'll be able to see what the bills are being paid for, whether the services are goods or what have you. So the new format will be ready for you to review the vouchers starting on February 21st. That meeting is for February 21st. Furthermore, Paige discussed with me the low interest rates we were getting from banks. Banks are currently paying 0.5%, and so to increase the value of our investments, which is in the form of reserve funds, Paige invested in municipal bonds issued by Prospect Park, New Jersey, and the amount of interest received would be $37,000. Paige is also looking at additional investment opportunities with the assistance of Phoenix Financial Services, which has been working with us over the years, to offset those abysmal interest rates that are offered by the banks as we move into, hopefully not too deep a recession. Go for it, Paige, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Brady. Mrs. Stroud.
The Environmental Commission is currently working on their Sustainable New Jersey application, which is best practices for our borough government. So they've been reaching out to many department chairs to help out staff-wise, and numerous volunteers are also participating from the Green Team. They are continuing their planning for the community garden and spring events. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Weeks.
No report tonight.
Okay, I have a couple of items. Kevin's office has sent out the invitation to our new congressman. Now that his office is up and running. No word yet, Kevin, because I know it just went out.
I just went out.
Okay. Question for the county, we had outreach to them again about the speed limit issued by East Main Street, which is County Road, I think 612. Have we heard back from them since their last outreach to us?
The last communication with them is they were examining it for a study, but I'll share with them that the state has already moved forward with their approval. So.
And that's the last remaining street,
Yep.
not under our control, that's not 25 miles an hour. So just remind them they promised us a study and a swift result. I don't want them counting the cars in July when, you know, it's an artificially low amount. It should be done, should be done tomorrow. League of Municipalities Essay Contest is open now. I dropped off materials to Immaculata High School and Somerville High School. Just as a reminder, the essay contest is open to any junior or senior who lives in Somerville. If you attend either of those two high schools, you can get your application packet at the main office in the high school. If you have a child who attends a private school outside of town, you're still eligible to submit your essay to myself. And I have, letters going out to how to reach me to get that packet. So if you have a child in Pingree or Rutgers Prep somewhere, they're still eligible. And I believe, Kevin, that's posted on the website, isn't it?
That is, yes.
Good. Dr. Brady and I attended the Bridgewater Zoning Board of Adjustment application process for the proposed warehouse project on Route 22 East, right near the old Mack truck site. And, I'd like to thank members of the public. Somerville was very well represented at that meeting, even though it was in Bridgewater. We had several members of our environmental commission, several members of the governing body, a couple of members from the planning board as well. In 3 hours, testimony was heard by one of the 4 applicants' witnesses. Even that testimony was not complete. So that hearing has been pushed on to continuance March 7th. So if you were at the zoning board in Bridgewater last week, you're more than welcome to come back on March 7th. I expect it will take at least another 3 or 4 meetings, if not longer, to get through all of the testimony before there's even questions and comments. If you were there, you're certainly welcome to come back, and if you weren't there, it's not a project that's just going to affect Bridgewater. A lot of the impact will be on Route 22, but any trucks entering and leaving that site have to get to that site somehow, and they can't just get there on Route 22. They're going to be somewhere else, and that somewhere else is probably some local streets that go through Somerville. So it's to everybody's benefit to go and hear the testimony, ask questions of the experts, hear the Bridgewater deliberation, and then make comments. It's too late, if and when the application is passed, for anybody to challenge it. So if you were there, I thank you. And let's remind, I think that was on the website as well, let's keep that running, because it's going to be at least March 7th and probably every 2 weeks until the late spring on that. Last thing, we're moving some dirt in Somerville. If you drive by Gaston Avenue, you'll see some activity on the new emergency services complex. There's some grading being done, and you'll see, hopefully in the next few months, some stuff going skyward. So we're estimating summer, I guess, of 2024 to be in there about that range. Depends on weather and materials and labor, but that's our goal. Is, let's say, conservatively Labor Day of 2024. Seems like a long time, but it's not. So I look forward to seeing that site go up. It's just, I think, going to be a testament to the optimism that we all feel about the town, and a project that's been years in the making, and hopefully it'll proceed very, very quickly. And finally, if you're in my neighborhood in the next couple of days, take a quick ride down to Baker and Taylor. You will see that the demolition of the building itself is starting. I woke up, I guess, Thursday morning of last week to the sounds of crunching masonry. They removed some of the front facade, and I'm anticipating within the next few weeks the entire structure will be raised to the ground. On the western side of the property, there's going to be a retaining wall because of the difference in slope between their property and the adjacent property to the west. So you'll see the excavation done in preparation for the retaining wall that will protect the adjacent property to the west. It's been 15 years since that building was occupied, and it's sat there for a long time, and it's just encouraging to see not only the parking lot being removed, but the building itself coming down, and I can't wait again to see that steel, going skyward as well, to reclaim yet another underutilized property that used to be industrial and will someday have people living there. So if you're on my street, take a quick ride down to Kirby Avenue. There's a construction fence up, so it's safe to be down there. But it's it's not just a plan; it's a project, and can't wait to see that add to some of the efforts that we've undertaken over the last few years. And that's all I have. The motion for open public.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public comment? Hearing none, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public session is closed. We have our consent resolutions. Are there any council wishes to discuss individually? Motion to- Okay,
061.
you get my mind, Mr. Reed. Anyone else? All right, let me summarize those quickly. 056, approving the refund of a cash performance bond for TFE Properties, 50 Kirby Avenue. 057, awarding a contract to Bucks County International for a CV 515 utility body in the amount of $170,851. 058, approving the Central New Jersey Corvette Club park in front of the courthouse on June 2nd, and then again on August 2nd from 5 till 9. 059, accepting the resignation of Kim Suarez from the Somerville Board of Health, effective immediately, and thanking her for her service. 060, approving New Jersey Firemen's Association application for Anthony Tremarco. 062, amending Resolution 23-0117-054 to reflect a change of address. 064, supporting participation in the Sustainable New Jersey Municipal Certification Program. 065, affirm the Borough of Somerville's civil rights policy with respect to all officials, appointees, employees, prospective employees, volunteers, independent contractors, and members of the public to come into contact with municipal employees, officials, and volunteers. 066, authorizing the Borough Administrator to execute a grant agreement with the New Jersey Historic Trust for the Daniel Roberts House, Somerville Borough Hall, project 2022-2062. 067, canceling uncollectible taxes. I believe it's some disabled veterans exemptions. 068, awarding a contract to Davalino Construction for Michael Leff Park pool improvements for a total bid of $479,878. 069, supporting the arts and art education through the collaboration of a not-for-profit charitable organization, including Arts on Division, and recognizing Arts on Division as the borough's creative team. 070, authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract for construction documents, bidding and construction phase services for the continued exterior restoration of Somerville Borough Hall, the HMR Architects. 071, appointing Karen DeLonzo to serve on the Board of Health, a 3-year term expiring December 31, 2023. 072, affirming the approval of a Greenway mural project at the intersection of Bridge and Green Street, being coordinated by the Arts on Division and funded through the New Jersey AARP. 073, amending Resolution 23-0103-022, authorizing the award of a fair and open fair contract to T&M Associates for sanitary sewer engineering services and other engineering services. 074, authorizing the submission of a community development block grant application for for $100,000 for the Carol Pager ADA Playground Expansion Project. 075, authorizing a refund of $3,378.29 to GGM Station House from their escrow account. And 076, supporting the submission of an application to FEMA for the fiscal year 2023 Assistance to Firefighters Grant for high water rescue equipment and providing the 5% non-federal cost share requirement. And I have a motion for those resolutions as a group.
So moved.
Seconds?
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, resolution 061, approving Girls on the Run race for June 11th, 2023, starting at 9 a.m. at the corner of East High Street and Grove Street. Motion?
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Reed.
Same question I ask every time because we've had issues years ago with this. Will residents on the route be notified?
And by who?
And by who? That their street will be closed at a certain time?
Well, it's an open course, so it's not officially closed, so it's an open running course. So what happens is the complaints that we received in the past were they didn't even know the race was happening, right? So while the race course stays open, the race organizers do have to notify them. They have used private entities to do that in the past. Regardless of who they use, the approval says the race organizers must provide paper notifications to the residents, provide extensive social media notification announcing the course, date, times in which residents may be affected. So it's just not on the course they're running. If they're stuck in the middle, they're supposed to be notified as well. I will tell you with the push of social media, that's a complaint I really haven't received the last several years. Plus, I think you've hawked on it, Councilman, so I think that
You're welcome.
they've gotten the message.
I know one year they hired a company that just didn't fulfill their obligation.
Correct.
I assume they've gone with another vendor.
Well, they went with a nonprofit that apparently, they were trying to help out the nonprofit, and it apparently didn't work out as well. I think they still use them to supplement though.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yeah.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
063, authorizing a memorandum of agreement to be drafted between the Borough of Somerville and the Somerville First Aid and Rescue Squad for use of 137 West High Street, Block 115, Lot 6, better known as West End Avenue House Company.
So moved?
Second.
Dr. Brady?
Yeah, the history of this, it goes back when we first started to reorganize the Emergency Services Facility Committee, and the Somerville Rescue Squad was a member, and we were going to put up something a little bigger than is planned for now. Matter of fact, it's probably about a third or maybe even half as small as it would have been had we gone with the original plan. That was also to include the county. It became quite clear that there wasn't enough room to put a firehouse, a police station, and a full-service rescue squad in the same spot. And the squad was concerned about that. So in several discussions we've had with the leadership of the squad, it came to our attention that we would have a vacant building somewhere along the line with the abandonment of West End Hose, since they will go to the new facility on Gaston Avenue. The idea of relocating the squad there was done for a couple of reasons. One, they needed a home that wasn't in a flood zone. And secondly, it was probably to the benefit of the community to have another emergency services facility on the west end of town, and that would be at the firehouse. So after some discussions with the squad leadership, the issue of how we're going to do this, and my suggestion was we would lease the space to the squad at essentially what would be our cost. They would pay for the items listed, utilities, insurance, and what have you. And because they are an independent entity, they're not a borough facility, we would enter into a lease agreement with them. At the squad dinner a couple weeks ago, I met with Jim Barry briefly, and I said, what are you guys gonna do when you move out of Park Avenue? He said, I thought we're going to West End. So that was kind of a good way, a good segue into this. So I asked Kevin to put together a resolution that is probably a little lengthier than should be, but essentially to enter into a memorandum of agreement and a lease with the squad to move into the West End hose upon the vacant, when the fire company vacates it. In addition to that, we are going to budget for this calendar year $10,000 for the squad to help them defray the costs. We have been reducing the amount we give to the squad each year because now they are billing for their services, and they're basically, it's a not-for-profit company, but they do bill for services, and they bill Somerville residents for services. And it just seemed unfair to have the taxpayers pay the squad a stipend as well as pay for their rescue squad services. So this has gotten down to the point where it's about $10,000 a year, and that should cover some of their cost to move. So the point of this whole argument is to give them an opportunity to have a new home, which is high and dry, and give us the opportunity to have a facility, an emergency facility on the west end of town.
All right, Jeremy, question for you in terms of how we develop the lease. Would that be something that we would have a committee from this table work with the squad, or would it be their attorney with you?
It would be most expedient if it was
I think there's been some
through
like
my
work on this,
office,
right?
but I'm sure Colin has an opinion about it.
I was gonna say,
I have more than an opinion. I've spoken with their attorney, I've spoken with our redevelopment attorney, and the development of both the MOU and the lease is underway.
Problem solved.
And just to comment on what Dr. Brady had to say in terms of the rescue squad billing, I want the public to know that they will not bill you if you cannot pay. They only bill if you have insurance, so no one's left home without a ride. Number one. Number two, they also use that funding now to pay for day crew because they don't have enough volunteers to cover day crew. So, for the record.
Right, and it's a good point. They will send a bill, but they will accept whatever the individual.
Or nothing.
Right. If you don't have insurance, you're not going to get a bill.
Well, the issue was also, and I spoke to them about that because I reviewed their taxes, what they paid and how they obtained the revenue, and I did discuss with them the need to be a little more diligent about getting addresses of, because if a person is injured, I can understand, you're not gonna ask the guy who's unconscious where he lives, but the hospitals always seem to get that information, so maybe a little more coordination between the squad and the hospital, because most people have some insurance, I would believe. So, again, I think they have to be a little more proactive in this area.
This starts the process so there's no surprises along the way, because hopefully in 18 months, they'll be looking for a new home and we'll have it all in place. Excellent. Any more? Roll call.
Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. Bills and vouchers.
Oh, yes, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Where did I put that? Thank you, Kevin. You're much better organized than I am. I move the payment of bills and vouchers in the amount of $1,868,167.09.
I will second.
Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. Before I call for adjournment, just a reminder to people watching on TV and people at the table, where the calendar falls, our next meeting would be scheduled on President's Day, so in recognition of that, our next meeting will be in 15 days. It will be February 20th, executive in this room at 6:30 and public at 7. So, Mr. Mitchell? 21st. 21st?
Move
Yes.
for adjournment.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? See you in 15 days. Thank you.